should we bring in the closer? And
I think it'd be a good time for that.
All right.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Free Baseball Podcast. I know we are not dead. It's been so long since we've been able to do this, and we're just so stoked to recap the last, it feels like, all of the baseball season because we haven't been able to do anything. How's it going?
Yeah, well, it's going pretty well. You know, I feel like we've done like 1-2 podcasts during the regular season so far, but
I think so.
Yeah, I'm hoping this is a runway to future consistency in that regard.
The whole conversation we had was we're so close to 100, we can't let the pod die. The podcast.
Yeah, we got to at least get to 100. We're so close. It would be a crime.
We'll go to 100 and beyond. And we can start with hot months since the 17th of April because we haven't done this in forever. We've got so much to cover, but we'll just run them down really quick so we're not here for 3.5 hours. Hot months since April the 17th. We can start with Kyle Tucker, who started out pretty slow, and then, man, he has picked it up. 295, 427, 670, 667, not 677 slash line, 16 runs scored, and a pretty terrible offense. We'll talk about that later. 8 home runs, 15 RBIs, 4 steals, and 1.6 FWAR for Kyle Tucker. I saw something, I don't remember who it was, but they said we're going to look up one of these days, and we're quietly going to see that he's like a 300 guy in his career. And I think that's pretty apt. He seems really like he's obviously very good, but he feels still really underrated.
Oh yeah. That was the first thing I was going to say, that it still feels like he's underrated. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like the team around him or just so many other.
I feel like there's players. I feel like there's no fanfare for him. Like he's just quietly very good. Like almost like a few years ago, like Joey Votto, before like really anyone cared about the Reds. Like just Votto was super good all the time. That's just sort of what it reminds me of.
Yeah, I sort of understand it with Votto though, because that's like an advanced statistics thing where it's like Votto wasn't like a guy that was hitting 45 home runs or whatever. He was just a guy who would walk 100 times a season, and people that didn't value that didn't think he was that great. But when you value it correctly, you realize how good he is. But when it comes to Tucker, I have a feeling it's like the guys around him are bigger stars. He wasn't part of the 2017 Astros. The American League has been filled with Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. So Tucker's never in the MVP discussion. I mean, he's there, but he's never like
he's really not even the most talked. He's really not even the most. He's maybe like up until the last couple of years, maybe not even the top 3 most talked about hitter in the lineup, which is an insane thing to say. I mean, like he's contending with 2 names on there that are Jose Altuve, who's going to be in the Hall of Fame, and Yordan Alvarez, who is a top 5 hitter in baseball. Basically at any point, and then up until recently, like I guess before Correa left, like Kyle Tucker just doesn't really get that fanfare. It's just sort of, it's Kyle Tucker. We know he's good, but he's really good.
He's so consistent though. Each of the last 3 seasons, basically exactly 5 FWAR. That's 3 consecutive 5 FWAR seasons. That's well above all-star level. And now he's already at 2.5 FWAR for the season. We're like a quarter of the way through the season. He's displaying more power. He's walking more than ever. He's actually walking the same amount that he's striking out. I mean, just considering how good Tucker's been the last 3 years, to have him reach another level is absolutely bonkers. And yeah, it does feel like at the end of the year, I mean, at the end of his career, you were talking about 300. I feel like at the end of the year, it's just going to be like, oh, wow, actually Kyle Tucker might just be the best player in the American League because we've just lost so many guys there.
Yeah, that is true. It's been kind of a rough year for that. We talked about that before the podcast. We can stay in the AL West and talk about guys that have had a really good season so far for a team that's exceeding expectations, and that would be Brent Rooker of the Oakland Athletics. He's slashing 333 for 34 on base percentage, 690 slug, 19 runs scored, and one of the best offenses in the American League, which is insane to say. Also 8 home runs, 23 RBI, 2 steals, 1.5 FWAR for Brent Rooker. Did you see the Jay Kuda tweet where it was team OPS? Is your team OPS over 800? And it was like all the teams, no. Athletics, yes. The Athletics have been extremely good. Brent Rooker, one of the premier sluggers on that offense. That, man, I hope the A's are good.
Yeah, and I was writing him off just a few weeks
Mhm.
ago
Oh,
because
yeah.
he strikes out so much. He just is like the clear quad A player where he doesn't provide defensive value. He's a flawed offensive player. He strikes out too much. Like it just seems like a guy that's not going to be able to cut it. But here he is just parlaying incredible batted ball metrics into another great season. And it really doesn't matter how much he's striking out. He's at 31%. And obviously he's not going to keep up this pace. He's got a 375 BABIP. He's outperforming his StatCast metrics, but it's not by that much. Like I think Rooker might be better than he was last year in his breakout season, and it's pretty impressive because it doesn't seem like he's changed that much. It might just be continuing to get consistent playing time, which has allowed him to be really good. But that's awesome. I just feel stupid for because literally like 3 weeks ago I was talking on a podcast like, yeah, like don't pick him up. This is not real. Then he
Yeah.
homered the next day. Then he homered the next day, and I was like, oh
He had the one game where he hit 2 home runs in the same inning,
yeah,
which was insane. Yeah, it's funny that we're talking about these two guys back to back. They're both guys that are near the top for OPS leaders. They even look the same. I don't know if you looked at them, they look really similar. It's kind of a fun comparison for these two. Yeah, the Athletics, they're a story. We'll talk about that with sort of our rundown later. But Brent Rooker, foolish baseball, even held his hands up. He was like, "Hey, I was wrong." Where he had did you see the tweet where he said when they did the render of the Oakland Athletics Stadium where it had Brent Rooker hitting 303, and he's like, "There's no way Brent Rooker is hitting 303. That's the most unrealistic part of this entire thing." And then he
yeah.
literally showed the day where he was hitting exactly 303, and it's gone up, which is insane. But yeah, that's such a fun one. Brent Rooker, he's always a fun guy on Twitter too. He's a cool Twitter follow, very
Yeah.
self-deprecating, cool guy. So shout out to him. Same deal. AL West, pretty heavy. We can talk about John Gray. He's gone 1-0 since the 17th of April. He's pitched 27 and a third innings. He's got a 1.65 ERA, sub 1 WHIP, just barely though, 0.99. He's striking out almost 26% of batters he's facing at 25.7, and he's also worth 1.5 F4 in that time. John Gray feels like he's been a premier 4 to 5 starter, and he's been really solid this year. For a guy that's always sort of struggled to stay healthy, it's good to see him finally doing so and continuing to do so for an extended period of time and actually performing well, because everyone sort of had high hopes for him once he got out of the cavern that was Coors, and it's just sort of been like, oh yeah, he's fine. And now he's really showing that he's a really good pitcher.
Yeah, I wish I could buy into it more because I was a big fan of John Gray just a couple of years ago when he left Colorado, because he's got that incredible slider and a decent fastball, but the fastball has continued to get worse. Got terrible marks in induced vertical break, doesn't have good vertical approach angle, terrible PLV, but the slider just carries him and he throws it like 50% of the time. And it makes sense because he doesn't even need to throw it in the zone. It's got a 93rd percentile O swing, just gets a ton of swings and misses. I like looking at his underlying metrics. I'm trying to determine if it's like, is John Gray going to be good this year, or is he just going to revert to being like the high 3s, low 4 ERA pitcher with like a 25% strikeout rate that he's been throughout his time in Texas? And I can't really find much that suggests that he's going to regress. I mean, obviously he's not going to pitch to a sub 2 ERA for the rest of the season. However, he's got a 320 BABIP. He's not stranding a bunch of runners. The only thing that's really lucky is his home run to fly ball ratio. So he's just getting lucky on fly balls. That's going to turn around, especially as we get into the summer months and the ball carries a little bit more. But I think John Gray is going to be pretty solid. And right now, the state of the Rangers rotation is so bad. I did not realize how bad it was. But with Eovaldi on the IL, and DeGrom on the IL, and Dane Dunning on the IL, and Cody Bradford on the IL, and Tyler Mahle on the IL, and Max Scherzer on the IL. They got the whole bullpen. They got the whole rotation in the IL. Now they got John Gray as their ace, Andrew Heaney, Jose Urena, and Michael Lorenzen. Jose Urena as like your 3 or even a 4 because they don't even have a 5.
Jose Urena in your rotation at all is terrible.
Yes.
That guy's not good. But John Gray, I mean, I think he's 5th right now he has the 7th best ERA in the American League. If you took away the one start you could label a blow up start, which was against the Cubs on opening day, he would have a sub 2 ERA, and it would be almost close to 1. It's like 1.47 or something like that. He's been really good. That rotation complete ass right now because they're terrible, and they just don't have anyone. John Gray, I think, as long as the slider is still working, which it seems to be, I think he'll be fine. That's the thing. Like the fastball you said sucks. Yeah, it's not great, but I don't know. He really should not be in the position that he's in. It's good to see him doing well, but as the current ace of the Ranger staff, it's not
The defending world champions.
It's a little bleak.
Yeah.
It's a little bleak until they get some of those guys back. But yeah, it's nice to see John Gray doing well. We can move on to our last one, and then we will stop because I have another pitcher. Dylan Cease is the last one we'll talk about. We'll finally escape the AL West, and we'll move to the NL West, which is Dylan Cease's home with the San Diego Padres. He's gone 3-2 so far. 32 and a third innings pitched, 2.78 ERA with a super good whip, 0.68. Almost nice, not quite.
Yeah,
he's striking
it's good.
Out almost
it's good, not nice.
Good, not nice. Almost striking out 35% of batters he's facing. He has a 1.2 F4 so far on the season. Does Dylan Cease?
Yeah, pretty crazy. I have not been a fan of Dylan Cease. Not that I don't want to see him succeed, but after he had that breakout season in Chicago, I wrote him off because he just walks too many guys, and he was due for regression. And that happened last year. And this year, I don't know what people expected to happen. And then he got traded to the Padres, and then, everything's up in the air now. And he's come out and looked better than he has ever looked before. He's reduced his walk rate, which, like I said, was the biggest thing before. In 2022, he led qualified pitchers with the highest walk rate. That's a bad thing. Leading sounds good, but it's bad in this case. Now it's down to 8.2%, which is a greater than 2% drop. And he's maintained his strikeout rates. And while he's been very lucky in terms of BABIP, home run to fly ball, and other metrics in terms of, underlying ERA estimators, I think Cease is looking like a different pitcher. He's got a cutter he can use for strikes. His fastball is still pretty dominant, and his slider is obviously, once again, one of the best swinging strike pitches in baseball. I don't really expect Cease to repeat 2022, where he had a 2.20 ERA across 185 innings with a 30% strikeout rate. However, I do think he can be like a low threes guy with a 30% strikeout rate and 180 innings, which is very, very good.
Definitely. You talked about the slider. That has been one of the best pitches in all of baseball. You want to hear some fun stats about it?
Yes.
So far, Dylan Cease has thrown 350 plus sliders in 2024. He has generated almost 40% strikeout rate against it. So he's got a 39% strikeout percentage, 18 WRC plus against, and batters are whiffing against it almost 46% of the time. So they're literally whiffing on that pitch almost half the time. 40% strikeout rate, just about. Pretty stout from him. He's always going to be a guy that walks a bunch of guys. It's sort of how he is. But he's overcoming it. He's overcoming that so far. Even the last start, he only had like one walk. I mean, he'll have days. It'll just be touch and go with Dylan Cease. I'm not also the biggest fan of him just because he does tend to walk a lot of guys, and eventually that just kind of catches up with you. But the stuff is nasty. He's in a pitcher park. It's really good for Dylan Cease right now. It's nice to see him sort of coming back, but I think he's probably more along the lines of what you said, where he'll be really good and valuable, but I don't think it'll necessarily be exactly like this the rest of the season. But yeah, still pretty good. We can move on to our players of the week because we've got 4 whole weeks to cover, and we can start with week 4, the first one, obviously. And our player of the week from there on the AL side is Jordan Westburg of the Baltimore Orioles, and on the NL side is Trey Turner of Philadelphia.
Both of your guys.
Yeah, I know. I have them on my fantasy team. One of them was your guy, and you dropped him because you're
That's what I was going to talk about Westburg, is that when I had him like early in the season in fantasy, I had fleeting thoughts of maybe this is the season that he breaks out. I mean, it would make sense. He had a small sample size last year. He's always been pretty solid in the minors. He's a first round pick back in 2020. So like he's got everything going for him. And then he had an everyday role in Baltimore. I think what concerned me was the ballpark and like maybe him not getting playing time with Jackson Holiday coming up. And maybe not believing in small sample size success early in the season, but he's just continued to have a lot of success. The power has died down a little bit, but that wasn't really his calling card in the minors. I still think he could hit 20 plus home runs and bat like 270 something, which is very, very good, especially if he's in that deadly Baltimore lineup. And his StatCast metrics are pretty decent as well. The craziest part, I think, is that despite batting 298 with a 518 slug, he's underperforming in both of those departments. I think Westberg's pretty legit. And maybe this is like the season. I think he's going to have a season where like the first half looks really good and the second half maybe not as good, but as a whole, it's going to be like, oh, this is like Jordan Westberg's breakout season. But I feel like there's still probably going to be higher levels for him, maybe in a couple years down the line, but he's been very solid.
Did you see that they moved him to the leadoff spot?
No, that's awesome.
They moved him to the leadoff spot today. Guess what he did?
Home run. First leadoff home run.
Leadoff home run. That's exactly right. Leadoff home run for Jordan Westberg, 7th of the season. Yeah, he is really, really good. I have him on my fantasy team. He is my favorite baseball player of all time because he's on my fantasy team.
Come on, Nathan Eovaldi.
Well, yeah, Nathan Eovaldi died right now. When he comes back, he'll be my favorite baseball player of all time.
Okay.
He'll regain his spot. His spot. Trey Turner, on the other hand, really, really
also dead.
Oh, really odd start. Also died, which really sucks for me and for Phillies fans and anybody that also drafted him high, aka me. And
it hasn't really hurt the Phillies at all. They're still the best team in baseball.
That is very true.
Because they got Edmundo Sosa, who's somehow really good.
Yeah, somehow. I don't really get it, but
he hits the ball hard and he's fast.
He be fast. Look, man, they're also giving like real playing time to guys like Cody Clemens and stuff like that, though. So it's like they're overcoming a lot. Yeah. I mean, that rotation, I think that rotation's going to carry him in the bullpen because the offense is good enough. Oh, yeah, it definitely is. Trey Turner, please come back. I want to somehow be better than 6 because I cannot escape this fucking purgatory that I'm in.
You're in the top 5. You're in the
top. I'm in the top. I'm 7th. I just dropped.
No.
This is the worst day of my life.
Yeah, mate. Hey, buddy, you know anything about ball? Or
no, never.
Should I get a new co-host?
Look, man, you got lucky. That's what I'm saying with you. You got lucky. My start was miserable. I should probably, if that pace continued, I was going to be in the bottom 3. So, I'll take what I can get right now. I mean, I'm like 30 starts behind also. So
really, wow.
Yeah, I'm like
that is a lot.
Yeah, because Eovaldi died. I'm not able to make.
Well, he hasn't made 30 starts.
Yeah, I haven't been able to make as many starts though. I had a bunch of starters get hurt.
Yeah, you're gonna have to figure things out.
Getting big time,
brother.
We're struggling. We can move to week 5 and talk about some guys that play for different teams. Hey, they're in the same exact division. One's in the same team. Anthony Rizzo is the AL Player of the Week in week 5. And on the NL side is Alec Bohm, also of the Phillies, having a pretty nice season so far.
Crazy, right? Rizzo coming back from the concussion he sustained last year that really took out his whole season. Really, so it's been nice to
ruin his season.
Yeah, but he's come back, and while he's obviously not going to reclaim his former All-Star level, he's been very solid. He's got a 122 WRC plus, up to 7 home runs, and he's playing every day for the Yankees. And not totally sure exactly what he did that week to deserve the award, but it's good to see Rizzo back.
I think that might have been the week he hit his 300th home run. I'm not positive, but that was at the end of April. That was when he hit his 300th career home run. So that's why he got it. He also has been pretty solid. But yeah, nice little accolade for Big Tony.
Yeah, and then Bohm's been ridiculous, which is not something I expected. I have a feeling it's probably due to good luck. He's got a 381 BABIP, and it's not like he's showing any changes to his batted ball metrics and stuff, but just his ability to make a lot of contact. He's walking more than ever too, which I guess is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is super nice.
But yeah, Bohm's been crazy this year, batting 333. He's got a 162 WRC plus. And I think most importantly, he is not negative defensively right now, which is like been the biggest detractor for him in the past couple of years, is that while he might be slightly above average with his bat, last year he was 105 WRC plus. He was negative 7.2 defensive runs. So that's not great. And right now we are in May, halfway through. He's got a 2.1 FWAR. That is a career high.
That's a career high by a decent.
That is a career high by a lot.
Shout out to Alec Bohm. And it's probably more or less because he's not a complete dog water defensive defender.
It's literally all it is. It does not matter how well he's batting. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, it's nice. I've always liked Alec Bohm. He seems like a cool guy. I really liked the bit last year where he basically said that he really fucking hates Philly, and then he just kind
that
of
was like 2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago. Okay. I think it was 2 years ago. But like, yeah, shout out to Alec Bohm for that. He's super sick. Glad to see him doing well. We're now moving on to guys that we've already talked about at length multiple times throughout the podcast history. Even one earlier, we're talking about Brent Rooker of the Oakland Athletics, and then our NL Player of the Week for Week 6. Have you ever heard of that guy? His name is Shohei
Ohtani. That's the Japanese one?
Yeah, that's that Chinese guy that the Braves fans are mad.
Okay, careful.
That's the funniest tweet I've ever seen, where they tried to compare to Marcell Ozuna. Like, that Chinese fella keeps getting all this accolades. What about Marcell Ozuna?
Those Braves guys. Oh, yeah. Oh, I saw that. Where they're just like war. They made war for Ohtani. He's not better than Ozuna.
Yeah.
Ohtani, though.
I guarantee he's not better at beating his wife than Ozuna is.
Or drunk driving.
Yeah, he's actually not better at drunk
maybe
driving.
He is better because he hasn't been pulled over.
Maybe. He's probably got to be better. Ozuna's got to be bottom 5 for drunk driving because he's been caught like at least the one time.
Yeah. We can skip Rooker and just go to Ohtani, who not pitching this year. So, like, I don't know, we were sort of expecting some setback, but he's just taken this opportunity of just only batting to improve at the plate, which doesn't seem possible after he just had a 180 WRC plus with 44 homers and 20 steals. But now he's batting 361 with a 211 WRC plus, 12 homers and 9 steals. I mean, he's DHing, but like he's putting up numbers that should have him in the MVP conversation.
He's so stupid. Have you ever seen the?
I hate that he's on the Dodgers.
Yeah, me too. We literally opened the podcast like before we even started it with the sketch reference. I know nobody else saw that. What about the Jinxie reference? Right, this is a hand on the Bible. This is lying. He's cheating. Like Shohei Ohtani's last 162, he would be hitting 320 with 53 home runs, 29 steals, and almost a 200 WRC plus. He's cheating. I don't understand. He's also
really good at pitching.
Yeah, he's nuts at pitching. So next year he'll probably be a Cy Young candidate. In addition to all of this, he's crazy. He's so crazy. So far, just the slash line. You just look at it and your eyes get big. It's like, oh my god, this guy. We're watching. If you're not tuned into this, or if you don't have this opinion, you should have it from now on. Shohei Ohtani is the best baseball player you will ever watch play baseball in your entire lifetime, and he's probably the best baseball player that has ever played the sport of all time. He is the greatest player ever, and you get to watch him. Just sit back and watch the show. Sucks he plays for the Dodgers. I hate that, but like, man, he's a 1 in a million, 1 in a cajillion player that we're never going to see anyone like him again. And it's really insane that we get to live in a time period to watch Shohei Ohtani play baseball. Super glazing. I'm well aware. It is what it is. It's well deserved too. So I'm not going to apologize. He is genuinely the GOAT if he retired right now. Yeah, we can stop doing that. I hope he wins a Triple Crown. That would be the literal best thing that's ever happened. Let's go to Week 7. We can talk about guys that are finally not in the divisions we talked about the whole podcast. We can talk about Marcus Semien. Yeah, AL West, same thing. And then Eddie Rosario in the NL East. Oh my God, a new division, a new player.
Finally. I mean, Semien is doing Semien things as always. Just, one of the most consistent, quietly very productive all-star caliber players in baseball. And he's not really standing out in the offensive categories, and I have no idea what he did last week to earn the distinction of the best player in the American League in that week. But Marcus Semien, once again, looking solid, and it's just been crazy how he's turned. I just remember when he had like that first good season with the A's in like 2019, and it felt like he came out of nowhere. And then he's just like held that level for like for so long.
Oh, that was when he had the game that was really insane. He had like 4 hits by the 4th inning or something stupid. Pretty strong week, basically off of the back of one game. So I think that's why he ended up getting it. Yeah, Marcus Semien. We talked about Kyle Tucker. Marcus Semien is also one of the most underrated players in baseball. It feels like, oh yeah, he got paid all that money, but nobody still really talks about Marcus Semien as like that's one of the best players in baseball, and he's just so rock steady, so consistent, always sort of like that.
Yeah, and then Eddie Rosario. We were talking about him before the pod ramped up because my brother rosters him in our fantasy league, and that's surprising given his age and his pedigree and his position on the Nationals and his cold start to the season. But he's really turned it on recently in like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 game span. He had 4 home runs and 4 steals while batting .455. That'll do it. I mean, Eddie Rosario, I think, was just due for like a positive regression there after a super slow start. I don't think this means like we're seeing the Atlanta Braves postseason Eddie Rosario NLCS MVP version of him, but I do think this is just him being good for a week too, as luck sort of turns his favor for a little bit.
Definitely. He's pretty much like I looking at it, I actually have seen this, that he is really consistently a slow starter for April and March. Like his career OPS is like almost 600, which is terrible. So he's a pretty bad slow starter. And he was not good at all in April, but he has been really good in May so far. So it's nice to see Eddie Rosario. He always seems like a fun player around. It's good to see him bouncing back from that. And that's our hot weeks. We can move on to our players of the month, and that is on the player of the month. Hold on, getting ahead of myself. Player of the month so far, we are with, on the AL side, Gunnar Henderson, and on the NL side, we have Mookie Betts.
Yeah, Gunnar Henderson's absolutely incredible. I didn't really expect him to take a big step forward this year after a pretty solid Rookie of the Year campaign last year, but he's come out. He's showing increased power. He's showing an increased determination to steal bases. He's already up to 6. He had just 10 in all of last year in 150 games. And while there haven't really been improvements elsewhere, like he's striking out more, he's walking less, he's barreling the ball more. His batted ball quality is much improved. And while I don't think this player of the month sort of suggests that like best player in the American League, he's going to have an MVP down the line. That's possible considering how good the Orioles are and how integral he is to that team's success. But just like his overall numbers don't really I don't know. They don't smack you in the face. He is playing shortstop and he's hitting a lot of home runs. But he's not a guy that I'm like looking at his numbers like, holy shit, like what's going on? This guy's going bonkers. But Gunnar Henderson still really fun to watch and is really good.
Definitely so. I think he was actually almost being flagged down for like the team RBI lead too. Funnily enough, by Jordan Westberg. So he's really good. He is really, really good. I don't know if he'll ever end up being a player that's like, oh, that guy's a real legitimate MVP candidate, but I think he'll end up being like a really steady hand throughout most of his career. Really, really solid. And then on the flip side, we have Mookie Betts.
Guy's crazy. Guy's one of the best players of all time. Yeah, he just does not slow down. Now he's getting into his early 30s and he just continues to get better. I mean, the craziest part is that he's been playing shortstop this whole time after being a right fielder for the majority of his career. And he just continues to be incredible. He's now walking like way more than he's striking out. 30 walks to 20 strikeouts. Absolutely ridiculous. This is a guy that for his career was striking out like 14% of the time. He's under 10% right now. And he's also increased his walk rate by like 4% against his career rate. And that's allowed him to bat 345. And while the powers not really stand out, he's made up for it by stealing a lot of extra bases. And Mookie might just run away with the MVP here. I mean, I know Shohei's going to be in the conversation and maybe steal some votes away from him, which could open the door for somebody else. But Mookie is looking like the best player in baseball.
I'm honestly okay with that after he sort of faded down the stretch and really made it a one-horse race with Acuna. I think I'm cool with Mookie just running away with it because he is one of the best players in baseball, and he really does deserve that. He has been extremely good. Still, like, he's not as good of a defender at short, but he's still playing like pretty good defense at short and just tearing the cover off the ball. It's just Mookie Betts is Mookie Betts. He's one of the best baseball players we'll see. Like, make the Ohtani comparison. Mookie Betts is one of the best baseball players I'll probably see in my lifetime. Future Hall of Famer, really excellent player. Yeah, totally deserved Player of the Month. Moving on, we can talk about Pitcher of the Month. We talked about one of these in this rotation with the Phillies, and it's Ranger Suarez on the NL side, and on the AL side, we have Jose Barrios. Which one do you want to start with?
We can start with Barrios since I got his page pulled up. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's doing anything different to find this level of success, but Barrios is a very, very consistent pitcher. He never gets injured. He always pitches the whole season. He had that 1 year in 2022 where things were weird. And other than that, he's been like a mid to high threes ERA guy. And this year, I don't think anything's different. His strikeout rate's lower, but that's sort of offset by the success he's had. And he came back down to earth a little bit in his first start in May where he allowed 8 runs. But in April, it was like, I don't know. He just goes on streaks like this. My boss, Nick Pollock, likes to call him the great undulator because he's a guy who sort of undulates in his performance. And usually it's dependent on the control he has of his curveball. If he's feeling his curveball, he's gonna be like, he can take down any lineup. Doesn't matter who it is. But if that curveball's not there, he does not have the depth of arsenal or like pitches that are dominant enough to allow him to succeed. So like him having control over that curveball is going to be really important moving forward. But I don't think this changes what Barrios did, but he was really on the upswing in April.
Definitely so. And it's nice to see from Barrios, who's sort of like, it felt like they traded for him and then he's never really kind of hit the heights that they thought. Like they traded for him to sort of be the ace of that staff, and he's never really hit that until now. He's been really, really good. So it's nice to see Barrios performing well. And we talked about the Phillies rotation, and they are really anchored. We talked about Zach Wheeler. We talk about Aaron Nola. Ranger Suarez, Pitcher of the Month. That guy has been so, so good.
Yeah, and he's continued it too. His last start on Friday, he 7 shutout innings with 9 Ks. The thing with Ranger Suarez is that he's a clear Toby in that he doesn't strike out a lot of guys, but he's still pretty decent. So that means he's relying a lot on balls in play. And so clearly right now he's probably getting lucky in that regard. And that would make sense when he's got a 214 BABIP, super high left on base rate, super low home run to fly ball ratio. I think he's been very lucky this year. However, he is a guy that is having success right now, and that's because he's got incredible control over his pitches, incredible command. I would say control is like your ability to get the ball in the zone. Command is to pinpoint your locations, and that's usually what happens with Tobies like this, where they don't have the most incredible stuff, but when they are on in terms of spotting their pitches right where they want them, they cannot be touched. It's the same things happening with like Seth Lugo, who we might talk about later, but Ranger Suarez, sinker, changeup, slider guy, or more so curveball than a slider. And not many changeups either. He's like all fastballs. He's on a heater right now, and it is an all-time heater. We've seen this before from plenty of pitchers. It's not going to last the whole season, but you got to hold Ranger in fantasy for as long as this lasts. And it's really fun to watch. And every single time he goes out there, I'm like, he's not going to do it again. He does it again. He does it again every time.
Is he a Toby or is he a Holly? What's the question?
The difference between a Toby and a Holly to me is just strikeout rate. I think Hollies live closer to 25%. And the way you can determine there. Well, right now he is. Right now he's striking out 28.1% of the batters he's faced. However, you can find luck in strikeout rates. And usually that comes with comparing swinging strike rate to strikeout rate, because called strikes aren't really reliable. They aren't consistent. You can't really carry them over. And that sometimes will lead to a lot of strikeouts. That's what the case is here with Suarez, because he's got an 11.5% swinging strike rate. And the general rule with swinging strike rate to strikeout rate is you just double it. So he should be like 22, 23%, and he's up to 28%. I think he's going to fall below 25%, but he might be closer to a Holly if he is able to maintain the control. But I think the clear example of like these Vargas rules is the guy who was named after, Jason Vargas. I think it was when he was pitching for the Mets. I looked this up to prove a point to my brother about Seth Lugo and Ranger Suarez. And it was like Jason Vargas had the most incredible first half where he had like a low 2s ERA for like 100 something innings. And then the second half, he had like an 8 ERA over like, I don't know, the rest of the season. So it's like, this is how it happens, where it's like a guy can have a lot of success for a long time and you may never see an end. And then they just hit a wall and then they're terrible. And so it's like the overall season line looks fine. Like I think Vargas ended with like a low 4s ERA, which doesn't look terrible. But when you look at like the first and second half side by side, it's like, oh, he really had it going on in the first half, hit the all-star break, came back and forgot how to pitch.
Yeah. You want to hear a fun stat?
Yes. Always.
Okay. Ranger Suarez won tonight, so that actually ties him. Yes, he won against the Mets. So he now has 8 wins, which is insane at this point in the season.
Yeah,
I know wins are not like
he's like on pace for 25 wins.
Yeah. You know what that ties him as? He's the only Phillies lefty besides Steve Carlton to win 10 starts in a row.
That's wild.
He has a chance. I think he has a
just
chance.
Went no earned. He's got a 1.37 ERA now. What the hell?
Yeah, man. He's real good. He's pretty solid.
This will end. I put a lot of money on it, but it's really fun to watch him do this. Smoke and mirrors, baby. Smoke and mirrors.
He only struck out 3 tonight. So that is very fair with the Holly conversation and the Vargas rule conversation as well. We can move on to the rookie of the month. The Orioles, hey, they got a lot of young guys, and this guy wins rookie of the month. It's Colton Cowser on the AL side, and then on the NL side, it's the greatest pitcher I've ever seen in my life. Shout out Heman.
Yeah, he's so dope.
He's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's just start with Imanaga. I mean, he's been incredible, and it's dope because I think a lot of smart people, and I'm including both of us in that.
Yeah, we said that.
Considered Imanaga to be the smartest and cheapest and best free agent signing of the offseason. And we both select him for NL Rookie of the Year over Yamamoto?
I think we did.
Yeah, and it just feels, I mean, so right. His stuff is just so good for the major leagues, and he's been doing a great job at spotting his fastball upstairs, which allows it to play up on its 92 mile per hour velocity. It's got great IVB and vertical approach angle, so it's actually a good fastball despite the low velocity. And then he's one of the few lefties with a splitter. And that splitter's been crazy, 92nd percentile in swinging strike rate among splitters, which, I mean, those pitches get a lot of swinging strikes. So the fact that he stands out there, and he's basically a 2-pitch pitcher. He's got a sweeper, he's got a curveball. He doesn't really throw them, and it does not matter because he's just been so good this year. And even the underlying metrics suggest he's going to continue being good. Obviously not sub 1 ERA. He's got a 0.96 ERA now for the season. But yeah, it's awesome to see Imanaga do well. And I'm really happy for Cubs fans.
Yeah, he's so fun to watch. Really, really ingrained himself into Chicago, which is super cool. Fan favorite already. Yeah, he's just stealing. He's just really, really dealing on the mound right now. And it's really fun to watch him pitch every single time. He's got a lot of energy. He's really, really a fun watch. And it's super nice to have a guy like that on your baseball team. Obviously, Cubs fan. Yeah, he is the GOAT. He is. I just want to keep talking about Shohei Imanaga the rest of the podcast. That's my guy so far in this year.
We'll have time all season.
Oh yeah, he's gonna win Rookie of the Year. He's gonna win Rookie of the Year because he's doing it against teams that aren't terrible. He actually just gave up no earned against the Braves. So yeah, he's the GOAT so far. We'll move on to talk about relievers of the month and
Colton Cowser though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Forgot about that guy. Talk
Yeah,
about
he
Colton
won
Cowser.
AL Rookie of the Month. He looked really good early on. I had him on my fantasy team, and I said, "This is not going to continue." I have never believed in Colton Cowser. I just picked him up for
Believe
one
the
day, and then he
oil.
did really well. I since I traded him, yeah, this is gonna blow you away. Yeah, I mean, when I had him on my team, I think he hit 4 home runs in like 4 days, and then I traded him. Since I traded him for Ryan Pepio, he's batted 171 with a
Well,
32% strikeout rate and 2 home runs, which is a 74 WRC plus. So he is terrible, and I am a genius.
yeah. Way to go, Jake.
Thank you.
Pat yourself on the back a little more about Colton Cowser.
I never make trades, but when I do, I'm like, if I don't win
Got
this
him.
thing, I'm going to kill myself.
If he was good, it's the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Colton Cowser, he's struggling right now. He's a rookie. He'll bounce back,
Hmm.
or maybe he won't. And Jake will get to run his victory lap on Colton Cowser sucks the rest of the year. That will also be a fun one. We can move on to reliever of the month, and we can talk about Mason Miller, who has been the literal best reliever in all of baseball, and Ryan Helsley, who's your AL winner. Yeah, really, really good, really good pitchers. Did you
Mason
see the?
Miller's.
Did I
Go
send you
ahead.
the? Did I send you the at bat where he just bullied the shit out of Jose Altuve yesterday?
I saw it. I don't think you sent it to me, but I saw it with the sliders and the
Rough.
fastball.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah. He is just so good. And boy, was I wrong in the offseason about him. I've never doubted his ability, but he does have a clear, lengthy injury history. And I wasn't sure how the A's were going to use him. I thought they might, do something funky, like use him for 3 innings at a time once a week. But turns out, no, we'll just make him the closer and we'll give him enough rest days so that he doesn't get injured. And it's worked because like you said, he's looking like the best reliever in baseball, striking out well over 50% of the batters he faces. Just absolutely crazy, so dominant, throwing so hard, and he's so fired up too, which like it shows that he's like passionate about having success out there. That's really cool. I am interested to see if the A's actually do sell high on him, which I think would be smart from their perspective, given that I don't think they're going to be competitive while Mason Miller is still on the team. And right now, with the amount of control and success and lack of injuries that he's had this year, they could get so much. He could get 3 top 100 prospects easy.
The thing that's actually the top landing spot for him is, funnily enough, the Chicago Cubs, because they have the most top prospects in all of baseball now and really have a huge need in the back end of their bullpen. And he'd be a great controllable closer. But he's been so good. He literally has a negative FIP. It's like negative 0.19, which is almost unheard of. He's virtually unhittable in that role. Just so good. 100 plus continuous, like mile per hour fastballs.
He's averaging 101.
Just cruising too. Like we've seen Rambo. Hasn't he didn't he hit like 104 last year or something stupid before he got hurt? That guy's just so
definitely
good.
One of the hardest throwers ever.
Wipeout slider. We're talking about the at bat. If you haven't seen it, go to Rob Friedman Pitching and John on Twitter's page. Literally just struck out Jose Altuve on 3 pitches. A slider top of the zone, slider away, 102 dot on the corners. Like, what do you do? What do you do with Mason Miller? I think he's the betting odd favorite right now, with like a few like outlets as the AL Rookie of the Year favorite, which is insane that it would be a closer, but also completely deserved. Mason Miller, super.
I don't think we've seen a closer win Rookie of the Year since A's closer Andrew Bailey won Rookie of the Year. I'm going to double check that. But that would be a crazy coincidence. Rookie of the Year award winners. The last time, Devin Williams.
Devin Williams.
That would have been before.
When was the last time it was AL Rookie of the Year?
Last time it was AL Rookie of the Year. Neftali Feliz in 2010. Year before was Andrew Bailey.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I was thinking Houston Street, but that's still further back.
Houston Street won. That was 2005, but that's also an A. So we have a history of A's closers. A's closers winning the Rookie of the Year, which is cool. Me too.
Maybe he'll be so good up until the trade deadline where he gets traded to the Chicago Cubs that will have a chance to win AL and NL Rookie.
Or maybe he'll go to the Dodgers and he'll like commit arson on the stadium.
Wow. Well, that'd be also really cool. But let's not condone crimes on the podcast.
Hey, Ryan Helsley though, that guy's pretty good too.
Yeah,
He's looking like
he's whatever.
he's looking like 2022 Ryan Helsley again when he was like absolutely insane. And while the strikeout rate isn't 39% like it was last year, it's only 30%. He's made up for that by walking nobody under 3% when for his career he was 10%. So I think Ryan Helsley's back. He's leading baseball in saves. He's got 12. Really awesome to see Helsley have success. I know you probably aren't too happy about that as a Cubs fan, but who cares? The Cardinals suck anyway.
Yeah, they suck.
Ryan
It's not bothering
Helsley's
me.
been awesome.
Oh yeah, he sucks. It's not bothering me. They'll end up probably trading him too, which would that would be a fun one. Just get rid of him.
Yeah, put him on the Yankees.
Trade him to the Orioles. Trade him to the Orioles.
Ooh, no, that would be bad for my fantasy team.
Well, Jake, I need you to have a bad fantasy team so I can beat you again this year.
If I have a bad fantasy team, I'm not going to like baseball anymore, Davis.
Dang, that's a shame. Anyway,
Yeah.
we can move on. We can move on to finally not talking about month reviews because we're almost an hour into the podcast, and we can talk about some stuff that has happened in the state of baseball. Which we had one big trade, and it was sort of a one, and it's very much a Marlins trade and a Padres trade all wrapped in one. And go figure, that's two teams being involved. And it's Luis Arias being traded along with our favorite baseball player, cash considerations, to the Padres in exchange for a huge package of prospects. Dylan Head, Jacob, is it Marzi or Marcy or whatever? Jacob Marzi.
Marcy.
Sure. Nathan Martorella and Woo-Suk Go, who we talked about in the offseason. Dylan Head is an extremely funny name. Dylan Head.
Well, and they got Woo-Suk Go.
Yeah, they got Suck and Head, which is insane. They got Dylan Head, who's an outfield prospect. He was a number 6 prospect in the Padres system. He becomes the number 5 prospect from the Marlins. His first rounder, he's 19. He's in single A. He was first rounder in 2023. Forgot to mention that. Marcy, he was a number 9 prospect. He becomes the number 10 prospect for the Marlins. He's 22 years old. He's in double A. Hit 16 home runs, got 46 steals. He walks about 70% of the time. Last year in 2023, Martorell is a first base prospect, DH sort of guy. He was 13 in the Padres system. He becomes number 11 for the Marlins. He's 23. He's also in double A. Walks a lot, hit 19 home runs last year, struck out 101 times, walked to 82 times. And then Woo-Suk Go was one of the KBO additions. He's actually didn't make the big league team. I think did he sign a minor league deal?
No, he didn't.
He didn't, but he's been in AAA, which is super weird. But they signed him out of the KBO.
He was at Double A with the Padres, and then got traded. Now he's at AAA.
Yeah, so now he is at AAA. He's 25. He averaged in KBO. He had averaged 28 saves a season and about a 2.4 ERA, 2.39. So some interesting guys coming back for Luis Arias, who. He was pretty garbage to start the season, and then the Marlins have been pretty garbage for the whole of the season. So they decided that they're going to trade anyone that's worth a damn on their team again for like the 70th time in their franchise history.
Yeah, I don't think anything's changed with Arias. He's yet to hit a home run. I don't think that matters. He's there to get base hits, bat over 300. Yeah. It's what he's been doing for the Padres. I think great addition. I think he's a great addition to any team, basically, because it's like you put him on the right side of the infield and then on the top of the lineup, and you just forget about it. Like you don't have to think about it because he's just going to be so solid all year. And I saw a lot of people sort of shitting on the return that the Marlins got. I mean, it is almost 2 full years of Luis Arias for prospects, none of which are top 100 prospects. However, I think these are underrated guys. I was talking with Davis about this when it went down, but like you said, when you ran through everybody, Head's a first rounder. Marcy's shown a lot of speed and patience. Martorella's shown power and patience, and Woo-Suk Go was one of the best closers in baseball and is still in KBO and is still just 25. So I think they got a decent return, though I don't think this is like the return that you go for when you're beginning a rebuild. And it does feel the Marlins did announce that they are going for a rebuild. And when you're going for a rebuild, I feel like you want a bunch of young guys where it's like Martorella and Marcy are going to be up in the next 2 years and maybe Head in 3. Yeah. But like, I don't consider these guys to be the guys that they're going to be building around. They're probably going to be role players in the end, but it doesn't feel like the needle moving trade that kickstarts everything.
Right.
And I don't know who they have to trade. Maybe the pitchers are the ones where they're going to be getting the big returns, but I don't know who they have to trade that's going to be getting them that big kickstart return.
That's the thing is like they've been so bad, and a lot of the pieces that have been good and did have value have had sort of down seasons. Like if they traded him last season, Tanner Scott would have been like a pretty big return, and he'll still probably
Mhm.
get something this year, but he's not been as good. So it's like, what do you really hope for? They have guys that they could trade like Lazardo, but I mean, what do you really hope for? My thing with the return is like, yeah, it's a solid return, but like you said, it's really not one that you go for if you're going to start this long-term rebuild. And they really managed, the Padres did well really to manage not giving up a lot of guys that were on the younger end of that spectrum. Pretty much most of their top five until you get to Adam Mazur or Mazer. I don't really know how you pronounce that. All of them are 20 or below. Like it feels like if you are going for this long-term rebuild, get guys that have a lot of potential, a lot of upside, and really just test your luck, because the Marlins are going to have to hit on something really big like that, honestly, multiple times to have a chance, because their owners are penny pinchers that really just don't give a shit about that team. I mean, pretty much everyone is aware of that. They're just not, that's not really a thing that the Marlins has ever had. But they've already, I don't know how they're going straight into another rebuild, because it feels like they've never really had anything to.
Hey man, they made the playoffs twice.
What are you rebuilding? What are you rebuilding? Because isn't their best win season recently like 84?
They had like a house with holes in it, and they're just like, nah, let's start this.
This house sucks. Do it again. It's like it's so dumb. Like I don't really get it. Luis Arias does have his faults as a player, but everyone knows exactly what you're getting with him. He's the best contact hitter in all of baseball. Yeah, he sucks on defense. He's a terrible, just awful defender. He sucks. Miserable. Yeah, he's never going to hit for any power. Okay, you got him to hit. You got him to hit and get on base. Great. Awesome. I think the Padres are cool with this. It was also just sort of weird because their lineup sucked, but it also felt like, I don't know. For me, it felt like they didn't really need him. It felt like they needed pitching more, but they sort of kind of proved that wrong also. Dylan Cease and Michael King have been good. So,
yeah.
Oh well. I mean, I think it worked out better for the Padres than the Marlins.
It was such a weird time to make a trade, like
yeah,
3 weeks into the season.
Yeah, I think they tried to capitalize on the fact that the Marlins were ass and going to get rid of everyone. They're just like, huh, I think we can get Arias from us. Nothing that really matters to us. And then they did. And they got him. So it's fair. But yeah, he's got his problems. I like Arias, but he's not a perfect player.
Nobody is.
In the return, fine. Who cares? I don't think the pot, like that's like what I said, the Padres managed.
It's not going to make a difference.
No, it's really not. They don't really give a shit. None of the guys they cared about, they really care about. So it's no skin off their back. Who cares? Yeah, Padres won this one. Marlins just disband. Do something else. Go pick a new sport. You're a useless franchise. Let's go talk about some useless jerseys, because we'll talk about the City Connects, because some of these are cool and some of them are garbage. Which one do you want to start with, Jake?
Let's just go in the order that they came out.
Sick. So we'll start with the Mets.
Boom. Oh,
right,
boom.
What are your immediate thoughts?
My immediate thoughts when I saw them were, I don't know, like shrug. There's nothing that stands out. I love the purple accents. It's just not enough. Purple is my favorite color. Big purple guy. I don't think I got anything in here that can back that up, but I am a purple person.
The podcast colors are purple.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. That counts. I'll take that. Yeah, I'm a big purple guy. So anybody that's putting purple in their uniforms, I love it. They didn't do enough, and it's against the gray. You can barely see it too. But outside of that, it's like, I don't know, a pretty boring uniform. The hat, I mean, the helmets were sort of cool with the bridge on the front.
They have that on the hats too, so you can't see it as good.
Yeah, this just looks like a prison uniform.
Yeah, it sort of does. I don't know. I think they're cool because it fits the subway thing or whatever. It's fine. They, comparatively to the other ones we're going to talk about, they're good. But that's not a high bar either. They're fine.
Yeah.
They're
middle of the pack. They're very mid, and that sometimes sets you apart because others can just be terrible.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Let's talk about the next one, which, funnily enough, is definitely not terrible because it's one of probably the best 5 ones. I think this one is so sick.
Yeah, I just across the board. I mean, even like it doesn't even have to. I think it does have City Connect aspects. It has
Mhm.
aspects that connect it to St. Pete, but I still think that all the little things that they did on it were so dope. All the just like logos that they created for this were awesome, like the pelican and the skating ray and the new logo on the hat, and the colors are incredible. I love how the Rays are so liberal with their color usage in terms of using gradients and the greens and the blues and the purples. I think it's all looks awesome. The new hat logo with the inspired by the bridge is just genius, and I just think it looks great. It's not like it's not so much that it like punches you in the face like the Padres jersey, which I think does a good job of doing that. But
Mhm.
it is in that vein where it's different. It stands out amongst the rest, but it still looks like a baseball uniform, and it's fun, and it's like it's dope. I would wear that. I'd wear the fuck out of that hat.
Yeah, I really, really like these jerseys. They had the extremely goofy logo. That's also the coolest one of all time with the skateboarding stingray.
Mm-hmm.
Like, apparently, Tampa's a huge like skateboarding town. I didn't know that. Sick. I'm glad that I got to learn that because of this. That's like what I want. One, these are extremely cool. They glow in the dark. They
I
turn the
forgot
wind.
about that.
They
Such a good
glow.
gimmick.
They glow. This is a sick gimmick. They glow in the dark, so when they hit the home run, they turn the lights off. We even made the joke like that. They're like, "Oh man, how sick would that be if like they just hit a home run, you turn the lights off and drop cannon?"
Yeah.
They do, and it's so gas.
Uh-huh.
Like these jerseys are awesome. I think they're top 5 for me. I really, really like these. They did a great
I, th-
job with these.
I think that might be number one for me. I can't even think of one
I think
that's
that's
clearly
fair.
above it.
I don't know. I'm still such a big fan of Boston's. Boston's are still my favorite,
That's
but this
crazy.
one is probably too. I think this might be giving it a run for its money. I
Hey, well,
absolutely love it.
at the end of the year when we've had all the releases, we can once again update our
We'll do a
tier
tier
list.
list.
We'll
Yeah,
do
we
a
should. We
tier
should do
list.
we should do a legitimate tier list. We
Yeah,
should do
I'm
our
down. Yeah,
ranking
yeah,
and then do a tier list of it.
that works. Works for me.
So sick. We can move on to the next ones because I think it kind of goes down from here.
Yeah, the
Ah,
Tigers are terrible. I think the jerseys are fine. I mean,
I hate them.
fine
No, I
sort of
think
feels
that
strong.
I think they're both terrible.
I don't like how they look, but it's
I
like I
don't
don't know.
like
The
them at
idea is
all.
cool with like the tire tread. I don't like that it says Motor City. I think the colors are fine, but it doesn't seem like it goes together. And then to top it all off, why don't we just make the worst hat that's ever been created?
It's really ass. I really think this is the worst one for me.
Wow, no, no, no.
It's
The Dodgers one was
no.
way worse.
No, I
No, it
think this
wasn't.
is no, there's no way because this one's just as lazy. It's genuinely they
No,
it's
no,
hey
no, 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 no,
no,
no, no, no.
it's just as lazy. It's genuinely just as lazy. Everyone
No,
knows.
if it was
I
just as
think so.
lazy, it would say Los Tigers, and then the hat would say Los
Look,
Tigers, and then they wear all black or all blue or whatever.
Jake, they are. It is. It's
It,
literally the same.
but
It's better.
it's better because they have a design on there at the very
No,
least.
it's not because the design looks like somebody ran it over with their fucking car. Like that's what it looks like. It sucks.
Hey,
That's my
I'm not
problem.
a fan of it, but there's no way
I
I
hate
can
it.
put it over the Dodgers. It's
I
definitely
would
bottom five.
I would say that it's bottom one, and I hate it. The hat is
That's
terrible. So
crazy.
the
The
hat's
hat's so
terrible.
bad.
What the cut? Okay, so here's my arguments. Okay, the Dodgers, the blue looks good. The pants look good. Yeah, it's lazy. Okay, we're well aware. It's super
No, the pants
lazy.
looked terrible. You talking about the Dodgers? Still, the pants were disgusting.
Look
They're wearing
at this thing.
pajamas.
Look at this. What is
This
this?
is
These are
also bad,
pajamas.
but it's not better than the Dodgers.
No, these are pajamas. This is so lazy. They're like, huh? Detroit. Oh shit! It felt like this was like something they threw together 2 days before they knew they needed to release it. And they're like, oh shit, we
Oh wait,
forgot.
we're doing that this year?
Oh shit! Oh shit! That's this week. Oh no. Motor. What's Detroit? The Motor City. I don't know. Slap it on there. What's Motor City? Car. Let's run it over with our car. And let's make. And then they forgot to do the hat, and they just put Detroit on it. And that's what it feels like.
Oh, we have
It's
to do a
so
hat too?
bad. Yeah,
We have to
it's
do a hat
so
also. Oh
bad.
no. Yeah, it is.
It's so
Yeah,
terrible. It's
it's not good.
so lazy.
My
And for
last
me,
argument about the Dodgers thing is that they are redesigning theirs. They've already redesigned it once and they're
yeah.
redesigning it again. And I think that says all that we need to say, but I'll
Well,
let the
okay,
Tigers have the front
okay,
seat here and they have a
that's
terrible
fair.
one.
That is fair. But also, the Dodgers released theirs That's one of the first ones.
So they've had the
And
time.
they just now released this. They had
Yeah,
years to come up with this. They had years to come up with this, and it's still ass. Like,
Yeah.
what's the point? It's so bad. It's
Yeah, I
so
don't even
bad.
get it. No,
I
it's
don't
terrible.
know. It sucks. I think it's definitely bottom. It's bottom 3 bare minimum for
Yeah.
me. I think it's the worst one they've released. It's
I'll
ugly. It's
let you
ugly
have it.
colors. It's ugly colors too.
I'll let you have it
Ugly.
as long as the Dodgers are second worst.
I think the Dodgers would be second worst, and I think whenever they release their new one, if the leak is right, they're probably the third worst also because those ones are terrible too.
Yeah.
Like, we can move on to one that's marginally less terrible.
Yeah, I mean
they're fine.
Yeah, they don't stand out. They just look like alternate uniforms.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
really
true.
understand the City Connect aspect, but what I do like is the sort of design on the lettering.
Yeah, I
And
like
the
that a lot.
socks. The socks you showed me were awesome. And then the last thing I like is the stripes on the jersey and the pants are very reminiscent of like the 80s
Yeah,
Indians uniforms. And that's
they're the
cool.
major they're the jerseys from Major League.
Yeah.
They're the jerseys from Major League, and they're the jerseys from when the Indians were good in the 80s and early 90s. I like the stripes a lot. I really hate this picture. I think the logo, having the Marathon logo there, is really ugly, but whatever.
Marathon logo?
Yeah, you can see the Marathon logo. They have the They have the sleeve sponsor.
Isn't that just their sponsor? Yeah.
Yeah, but
you just mean in this picture.
It just looks goofy.
Yeah. Sure.
I really like the design on the lettering. It's actually, if you've seen the bridge in Cleveland, I think I sent you the picture of it. They literally are called the Guardians because of the Guardians on that bridge. It's super like old, like Art Deco, like 1940s, 50s, 30s style or whatever. And it's that exact design that's on the lettering for the CLE, like the CLE on there. I think the hats are super mid, but they are the hats.
They didn't do anything.
But they're also the hats from those 80s teams. So it's also difficult to be like, they did the best with it because
they plagiarized.
Yeah, they did. But also I saw edits where people were putting Chief Wahoo on it, and that's so stupid. So I think it's the best that they could have done.
They should have just done like something super racist, like literally just straight up caricature, like big face Chief Wahoo on their chest.
First Chief Wahoo would have been insane.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
But yeah. So I mean, like, Cleveland have one of the worst logos in baseball. Like the rest of their stuff, super cool. I like the Guardians. I hate the block letter C. I've hated it forever. I think it looks ugly. I think I would rather almost have them try to do a riff with the Guardians logo in the G with like the.
I love that one with the wings.
I like that. I like that logo a lot. I hate the block letter C. It's terrible. I've never liked it. But yeah, I think it's fine. I like the stripes on the pants. I like that they're not doing. It feels like all the ones that we've seen so far, at least the last few releases, have been more or less doing it with like a pants variant too. And I like that this just is like white or cream pants with the stripe. It looks super clean. It looks nice. I really like the Tigers one would be like the Tigers one's goofy. The Rays one works. This one is super sick. It just fits super nice, clean. Not a big fan of hats, a little lazy. Everything else, solid. I think this is upper mid tier for me. Not like one of the better ones, but yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
tolerable.
Not terrible. When we first saw it, like when we saw the leak and we just saw CLE on a blue uniform, it looked terrible. But now that you can see a little bit of the touches on there, I think it stands out a little bit more. It's definitely not like top tier. It's not like one of my favorites, but it's not, a bad one. I think it's very, solid. It looks like a baseball uniform.
It does. And that's what I think a lot of people really, really suck with that one. Hold on. I'm going to send you a tweet really quick. I think this makes it really good. If they had put this logo on the hat, this would be the best. There is a leaked logo right now. It's actually on some of their promotional material.
Oh, yeah, that's fire.
That logo is gas. If they put that on the hat, this would be, this would be so much better.
I love the Guardian with the bat is so sick.
I wish that was their normal logo.
Yeah.
If that was their normal logo, I like that one more than the G with the wings.
Yeah.
That logo is awesome. But yeah, I think if they put that on the hats, like if they edit this later, they go up a pretty decent margin for me just because that logo is so cool. But
Yeah. They needed a hat to add a little flair.
definitely so. But that's all the City Connects that we have had released. Jake has this State of the League section, and I will let you take the reins for this.
Yeah. Well, we haven't recorded for a month. And even when we were recording the last time, we were attempting to catch up with everything that happened. So as we attempt to shift into a more consistent schedule, I figured, hey, let's just catch up on everything. Let's just run through every team, talk about like one thing relatively quickly, and then just move on, just so that it feels like, hey, we're at least touching on everything, and then we can just get right back onto normal scheduling next week. But we'll just go through every team alphabetically by their abbreviation. We'll start with the Diamondbacks, and it looks like Corbin Carroll just sucks now, which is very cool. That is sarcastic. I'm not somebody who roots against the Diamondbacks, despite my affiliation with the Giants. Corbin Carroll just cannot hit the ball hard anymore, which is very concerning. And I think it stems from that shoulder injury he had at the end of last year, which obviously didn't affect him in the playoffs as he took the Diamondbacks to the World Series. But he's really struggled this year. And, the 193 batting average, that's going to turn around. But he's not barreling the ball or hitting the ball as hard as he did before. His hard hit rate way down. Like his slug numbers are going to come up, but I don't think last year is 25, 54 steals, 25 home runs, 54 steals. That's not happening again. I think we're witnessing the sophomore slump for Corbin Carroll.
Definitely so. It kind of sucks. I like Corbin Carroll. I think the shoulder injury is probably still bothering him a little bit. Something's got to be wrong. There's no way that this is just genuinely Corbin Carroll just sucks now. It's got to be some sort of underlying thing that is there. But yeah, it's kind of a bummer. Corbin Carroll, one of the brighter names in baseball. And it's just like, that guy's ass now.
Yeah, you know who else is ass now? Ronald Acuna Jr. Last year's MVP. The guy had one of the best seasons of all time, 9 F4, 337 average, 41 homers, 73 steals. He's still stealing a lot, but literally every positive that he had last year has completely turned around. His power numbers have fallen off the board dramatically when he was one of the best batted ball metric guys last year. He's now like not that great. He's got an 8% barrel rate, which solid. That's like average, which not what you want from a guy who's supposed to be the best player in baseball. And then the biggest thing he had last year was cutting his strikeout rate to 11% after being like a 23% guy for his whole career. Back up over 25%. So there's a lot of things that are going back. He seems to be regressing backwards, which is not good. And it's not like he's been super unlucky either. I think he should have more home runs. His 9 barrels to 3 home run ratio is pretty small. But I don't know. How concerned are you with Ronald Acuna Jr.? Do you think this is going to be like a severe step back, or are we going to see a monstrous second half from Acuna?
I'm somewhere in the middle between those two. And I think that I don't necessarily think it's like this is 100% like, oh, Ronald just sucks now, or he's just not going to hit that height again. I think that it's just not been as lucky for him. I think that it's just been a bit more of a struggle. He's got a 105 WRC plus still. He's still got 14 steals, but I think teams are just very clearly watching him on base pass. A couple of days ago, he actually got picked off for his 3rd time in 2 games, which was kind of wild. So like, yeah, not great. It's just been bad. And I don't know if he'll turn it around. But I think that a 9 WAR season is also extremely anomalous and probably not something that's like, oh yeah, he's going to do that every year. No way. This shit's not going to happen. He's somewhere in the middle of like Acuna hits for a lot of power and he's fast. Last year was like he min-maxed that he was perfect. And now it's like, okay, he's Ronald Acuna Jr. again. So I think he's probably still going to be really good. Monstrous second half. I think he'll probably have a good second half. Probably not like he catapult him to MVP caliber status, but no, I think it's probably somewhere in the middle.
The Orioles currently have the best record in the American League, and with their walk-off home run today by Adley Rutschman, they extended their sweepless streak. The team has not been swept since the series before Adley Rutschman debuted. They're like on pace to set the record on this. I don't think they've done it just yet, but it's getting pretty close. And the team, I don't know, just from top to bottom, they just sort of got everything covered. They're great at, creating relievers, so they're not really struggling there without Felix Bautista, and the rotation has returned Kyle Bradish and John Means, and the lineup, even with Jackson Holiday looking like the worst player of all time, it doesn't matter because they have so many guys that they can call upon at any moment. And I don't know, I think this may be the year of the Orioles, and I'd love to like consider what they might do to improve as the season goes on. Is it going to be promoting the prospects that they have, or is it going to be trading those prospects for whatever they need?
I think it'll be a healthy mix. I think they'll probably make one splash move around like the deadline, and then they'll probably call it like Kobe Mayo. Is he already up? No, I didn't think so. I think they'll probably call it Kobe Mayo. Maybe Holiday will get another cup of coffee. I don't think Holiday was ready. I think that was a little bit much. But I think they'll probably make a splash, probably for help in the back end of the bullpen, because Kimbrel is not good. He's really kind of ass cheeks. And then the rest of their bullpen, their realistic highest leverage reliever would be like Danny Colombe, or Colombe, like whatever. It's like, that's not sure. That does not feel right, but whatever you say. It's not great. I think they'll probably do something like that, but I'm glad that the Orioles are good. Those fans deserve so much after putting up with that shit for 6 years or whatever it was of them being super terrible.
Yeah, I just hope they aren't too passive, because they clearly have guys that they can trade and they could get so much for them. But they've just been hoarding those prospects, and I don't think that's the right thing to do. But obviously, having a lot of depth and a lot of talent is not a bad thing. I just think they could improve so much.
Yeah, I completely agree.
All right, and then the Red Sox, they've got Connor Wong batting third, which suggests that they maybe won the Mookie Betts trade, because he's the last guy standing from the trade. They've lost Verdugo. They lost Jeter Downs. They got Connor Wong around, who was a backup last year, but actually played the whole year last year, 126 games. But this year, first full season as the catcher, and somehow he's batting 340 with a 154 WRC plus. That's going to come down, but it is cool to see him having success. The rest of this team is, I don't know, it's like they're so mid. The rest of the team is so mid. It's cool to see them finally figuring some pitching development stuff out with Andrew Bailey and Kyle Bodie in town. But Connor Wong, somehow the Red Sox number 3 hitter. Sorry, Mookie Betts.
He threw out a runner to end the game the other day. See that? Yeah,
that's one F war right there.
One singular F war just for that. He's the GOAT.
Yep. All right, we can move on to your Cubs, who have been pretty interesting this year. They're holding their own, 25-19 on the season. We've talked about their interesting player already. Shota Imanaga is the one who I would have talked about in this section, but right now it's like the lineup has so many names, but it doesn't really feel like anybody's carrying them. And it feels like a lot of people are underperforming. And my main question here is, like, can the lineup turn it around? Is this going to be a lineup that's going to live up to the expectations, that we can like look at the lineup on Roster Resource and say, this lineup should be better than it is? Are they going to turn it around? Or is this something that we're like expecting for the rest of the season?
I think it's probably something that you can expect from the rest of the season if their injury woes continue how they've been going. Honestly, just because they haven't been able to field most of their big names all at one time for a consistent amount of time. They just got Cody Bellinger back. Guess who he made way for on the roster to go on IL? Dansby Swanson. Like they haven't been able to consistently have these guys all play and all just sort of get in a groove. Ian Happ has been really disappointing so far. I know you're probably feeling that because you drafted him, and he has been ass water. He sucks. So he's been terrible.
Ass water.
He sucks. He's hitting for he's hitting for no power. Just genuinely none. He's hitting for no power. Strikeout rate's been up. Just looks sort of lost. Not being great.
It's not good.
Nico
I think that hamstring injury is still bothering him.
Yeah, Nico Horner's taken a step back. Michael Busch had a hot start. He's sort of cooled off. They've had guys. It's just, when you're getting carried in your offense by like Mike Tauchman. Like the sock. Don't disrespect the Sockman like that. He's the GOAT. But like Mike Tauchman should not ever be the best hitter on your baseball team. Is not really what you want.
Nope. I'm excited for Christopher Morel's breakout, because it's here. he's been really unlucky, and it's here.
There's
He's
an
here.
ongoing joke in Cubs Twitter right now that he's going to strike out 400 times. He's going to hit 40 home runs, and he's going to have 40 errors by the time the season's over. But it's realistic at the same time.
Sounds about right.
Their lineup's not good, but they have some help. I mean, like they have some help on the way potentially in the minors. Brendan Davis is sort of looking like Brendan Davis of old. He's actually hitting. I think he had like a multiple home run game in the minors the other day. They really need help everywhere, realistically.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Wisdom's finally starting to hit for some power. Michael Busch is still around. He's just inconsistent, strikes out a whole lot. We talked about him before the podcast. Cody Bellinger just came back. They'll get Dansby Swanson back at some point. Miles Mastrobuoni got 2 hits off Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens has never gotten Miles Mastrobuoni out in his entire baseball career. Hold that, you bum. And so maybe they'll probably turn around. If their pitching continues to be as good, it's really not going to matter. They're just going to beat everyone 3-0. Because Javier Assad, you talked about Shota Imanaga. Javier Assad is now well below ridiculous. A sub-2 ERA.
That's a Vargas rule.
He just dogged the Braves. He just dogged them bad.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
We can move to the south side of Chicago, where Eric Fetty is surprisingly looking really good. He's carrying over the MVP caliber success he had in the KBO. And this year, 2.60 ERA, 1.06 whip. Not a big strikeout guy. He's not a fantasy ace, but it is dope to see a guy who absolutely sucked. Like, was literally like, if somebody had asked me a couple years ago, who's the worst pitcher in baseball that gets to start all the time? Both of them would be on the Nationals. I'd say Patrick Corbin and Eric Fetty, and I wouldn't have to think about it. But hey, look, Eric Fetty like changed his whole everything. Like you can look at his at like his pitch usage on Pitcher List, and you just flip back and forth between 2022 and 2024, and it's like he goes from having never thrown a sweeper or a splitter to now throwing those pitches over 20% of the time each. So I think it's really dope that players can like go overseas, become a whole new man, and come back and like actually find a lot of success. And he may be the team's only all-star.
Yeah. He actually really dogged the Nationals yesterday. He went 7 innings, gave up 3 hits, 6 strikeouts in the most uninteresting revenge game of all time. Because who cares about either one of those teams? Do you think if they traded him at the deadline, they could get a top 100 guy back for him?
No.
I think that they could maybe. I feel like the way that starting pitching and honestly injuries in general have just been terrorizing baseball this year. I think a team that's so starting pitching like needy could maybe get something for Eric Fetty, because he's been fine. Really good.
Top 100 is sort of crazy. I think that they could get somebody decent.
I don't know. He signed a 2-year deal, did he not?
He did.
So controllable Eric Fetty, man. He's good.
Yeah.
Shout out to that guy.
We can move to the Reds, where Elly De La Cruz is absolutely goated. He's got the Riz, and he's probably going to steal Livy Dunn from Paul Skeens. Division rivals. It makes sense. Elly De La Cruz, 9 home runs, 26 steals. 26 steals. We are 42 games into the season. That's a quarter of the way. He's on pace for over 100 steals, which I don't know who was the last person to do that. Probably Ricky Henderson. But crazy, and he's still striking out 31% of the time. It just doesn't matter because he's just that good. And after Acuna went 40-70, we could see 30-80. That is a record. Nobody's ever done that. So Elly De La Cruz looking like the next most fun power speed guy in baseball. And he's just really fun to watch.
The last person that stole 100 bases was not Ricky Henderson.
No way. Was it like?
It was another dude that was
Vince
really fast.
Coleman?
Yeah, I think it was Vince Coleman. Yeah, Vince Coleman in 1987 was the last one that did it, I believe.
1987, that's
109, Vince Coleman.
Too.
That threw me off so bad because I'm looking at Baseball Almanac and Billy Hamilton was on here, and it's the one from the 1800s.
Yeah, that's so confusing because they're both like speedsters.
Yes.
And they both, I think they played for the Reds. I think Billy Hamilton. No, he played for the Phillies.
Dang. Billy Hamilton played for like everybody by the end of his career.
The Blues and the Phillies.
The Blues.
Kansas City Blues. Yeah. But yeah, that's Ellie De La Cruz, and it's crazy what he's doing. We can move on to Cleveland, where Josh Naylor is an absolute beast, and he is just so dope. I mean, last year was really cool to see him have a full season and find a lot of success, though it still felt like he was going to be underrated because he didn't hit a lot of home runs. 17 home runs last year, but he did bat 308 with a 128 WRC plus. What if I told you he's already got 12 home runs and he's maintained everything else? He's improved his walk rate. He's reduced his strikeout rate. He's hitting home runs at an insane pace compared to last year. His batted ball metrics are ridiculous, and his BABIP is at 241. So I'm sure he's going to be batting 300 at some point. Josh Naylor is now looking like the best first baseman in baseball.
I would believe you because he's on my fantasy baseball team.
He is so good.
Yeah, he is super, super good, and he is actually going to be a free agent in 2 years, and I think he is very quickly pricing himself out of Cleveland's range.
Yeah, totally. We can go to the Rockies, our favorite team, and somehow they are not the worst team in baseball, and even more surprisingly, they're the best team in baseball right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you want to know why they're not? Do you want to know why they're not the worst team in baseball anymore? Because they won 7 straight. They actually had not won a series until the start of this run. They haven't won a series at all this year. It's so pathetic.
Yeah, but this team is so goofy. I don't know. They got Jake Cave on the strong side of a platoon in right field. Their pitching rotation is 4 deep, and it features Cal Quantrill at the top. And their bullpen, they're relying on
has been nails the last 2 starts he's made.
It's ridiculous. He's got a 3.66 ERA in Coors, of course. And then they got Jalen Beeks closing out games. So I don't know. Rockies are rockying, and it's working.
Yeah. Do you want to hear a funny stat?
Yes.
The Rockies have a pair of starters that are about a 3.6 ERA or below. It's exactly who you think it is. Star ace pitchers in baseball, Cal Quantrill and Austin Gomber. There's only 6 teams in all of Major League Baseball that have pitchers with at least 8 starts and an ERA 3.6 or below. The Rockies are in teams? There. There's only 6 teams.
Six teams?
There's only 6 teams, and the Rockies are one of them. And it's Cal Quantrill and Austin fucking Gomber.
That's ridiculous.
Because of course.
All right. Well, we can move over to Detroit, who also has very good members of the rotation, but the offense is ass. The rotation is awesome. They've been pretty decent at bullpen development as well. But the offense doesn't matter who they have. They're just bad. I mean, Riley Green showing more power this year, not good. You got Mark Canha batting second. Who the heck is Wenzel Perez? He's batting third. And then Spencer Torkelson didn't hit his first home run until a couple days ago. They got Javi Baez playing every day. Colt Keith is the worst hitter in baseball. I don't know. Their lineup is so bad.
It's okay because they extended Pilkey.
Yeah. Oh, that was good. This lineup is just really bad. And do you think that the lineup will ever match the success of the rotation, or is this going to be another Marlins situation where it's like they have to rebuild before they get anywhere?
It's a Marlins situation. It's difficult to build an offense that actually works because that stadium is miserable. Mm-hmm. But you're also handing out money to guys that just suck.
And they're also.
As much as I like Javier Baez, that guy is terrible. That guy should not, at this point, be playing every day for any realistic big league team at all. He's striking out extreme amounts still, never able to hit any slider at all. Mm-hmm. You're starting that guy. Some guy that we've never heard of, Wenzel Perez. He had a decent little run when he got promoted. He's hitting third. Fucking really?
Yeah.
This is a situation where it's like last year where the White Sox guy called on the radio. It's like, our best hitter is Jake Berger. It's like our best hitter is Wenzel Perez. Mark Canha. Never going to be good.
The Tigers not only have to deal with a terrible ballpark and Javi Baez, but now they have what you consider to be the worst City Connect uniforms in the game.
Yeah, it's okay. Their fans get to watch them play have the worst offense while wearing the most nasty jerseys of all time.
It's funny. It's like Harlem Globetrotters.
Yep. We can move over. They're the Washington Generals. Their offense is the Washington Generals.
Yes.
They suck.
We can move over to the Houston Astros. And my one question here is, why are they so bad? They seem to have good players. across the board, whether that be the bullpen, the rotation, or the lineup. They've had breakouts in Ronel Blanco. John Singleton's looked pretty solid this year. But what do you think? Why are they falling apart?
Do you see actually what happened with Ronel Blanco today?
Yes,
he got ejected because of a foreign substance thing.
that's
I
right.
mean, they're I don't know. It might feel like it's just a slow start. I really don't know why. They're on a bit of a heater right now. They won 6 of their last 7. They're like 18-25. But I really don't know why they're so bad. Why do you think they're so terrible?
I don't know. I really don't know. That's why I was asking the question. But
I feel like it's got to be just a slow start. Like they've just gotten unlucky.
I don't
Their
know.
lineup really sucked. Their
They
pitching
have a new
wasn't great
manager.
outside of Ronel Blanco. Yeah.
New manager. The bullpen guys aren't living up to expectations. The rotation's injured, and the lineup is getting older. I'm not really sure, but I have found a lot of funny tweets in the time that they've been bad. My favorite one is the Astros have lost more games this season than the last 10 seasons combined. I also saw an interesting one. I saw an interesting one, and it says 103 teams in MLB history have started 7-16. That's how the Astros started, and only one of those teams made the postseason. It was the 1981 Royals. So basically, 1 in 103 teams have made the postseason after starting 7-16. Are we witnessing the end of the Astros' reign of supremacy?
That would be great. I would really appreciate it if we were. That would be absolutely perfect. I don't want them to be good. I want them to go away, and I'm tired of seeing them in the damn postseason all the time. Stop.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can move over to the Royals, where Seth Lugo is a god. He's literally doing exactly what Ranger Suarez is doing, maybe even more under the radar. But yeah, Seth Lugo is crazy. I was getting ripped to shreds for dropping him in our fantasy league after he had a start against the White Sox where he tossed 7 scoreless innings. He came out and had a poor outing against the Orioles, and I had dropped him before that matchup. But then since then, he just comes right back and just right back on the train. The craziest part is the strikeout totals he's been getting. As I spoke about with Ranger Suarez, like Suarez had an 11% swinging strike rate, which, like I said, pretends a 22% swinging strike rate. Lugo has a 9.6% strikeout rate, and yet he's out here striking out 12 batters, like against the who was it? The Tigers,
the Angels.
Yeah. And that's not it. It's like he had a couple other outings where he had 9 and 8, and it's crazy what he's doing because he's not a strikeout guy, and he's clearly just getting lucky because he's getting tons of called strikes on his fastball, which has allowed him to steal strikes. But Seth Lugo is going off. This will end, but it is really fun to watch.
You want to hear something fun that involves some guys we've already talked about today?
Yeah.
Here are your MLB ERA leaders, minimum 40 innings pitched so far as of 1 hour ago. We have the aforementioned Shota Imanaga at the top. Then it's Reynaldo Lopez, Ranger Suarez, and then it is Javier Assad and Seth Lugo, just like everyone thought. All those guys are not even at a 1.7. All those guys are sub 1.7.
2 Cubs under 2.
2 Cubs, former White Sox, Ranger Suarez, and Seth Lugo. So it's just what everyone thought would happen. But yeah, super, super fun start. Seth Lugo is a dog. I saw a really funny hypothetical that said it's really crazy that in 2024 it showed the old Mets super rotation with like Matt Harvey and Noah Syndergaard and stuff. Yeah. That's like the best pitcher from this group is Seth Lugo. Right, as of right now, it's Seth Lugo.
Yeah, because like, none of the other guys.
Yeah. Well, is Zach Wheeler hurt?
No, Wheeler's there.
Yeah,
Wheeler's better.
He just sucks compared to Seth Lugo.
Yeah. All right, we can move over to the Angels. Where is it? Joe Adell breakout season? Maybe he's currently off to the hottest start he's ever had in the majors, and there's lots to like about what we've seen. Not only is he 25, so it's not like he's being rushed anymore, but we've seen a strikeout rate under 25%, which is biggest bugaboo for him has always been strikeouts. On top of that, he's sporting just some of the best batted ball metrics you've ever seen. 14.5% barrel rate, super high hard hit rate. He's underperforming in XBA and X slug, which is huge because he's already having a good season and he's stealing bases. I think this might be the year Joe Adell finally takes off and attains the potential that we expected from him for so long. But I think the Angels might hold him back from truly having like a all-star caliber campaign because they're batting him seventh. They have Willie Calhoun batting fourth and Kevin Pillar batting fifth and Luis Guillorme batting second. You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, it's insane. Joe Adell also, if you've been plugged into nerd stats for baseball, Joe Adell, one of the leaders in baseball for bat speed. He'd be swinging that thing.
Ooh, yeah, but you know what?
97th percentile.
You know what he sucks at though?
Striking out.
Fielding.
He's not good.
Terrible.
He's really bad at fielding.
He cannot read a route. Yeah, he is not good at fielding. But that doesn't matter because he's hitting really well. He's stealing bases, and I think this is the year where we finally get to see what Joe Adell's made of. We can stay in LA and go to the Dodgers. And I think the real question here is like, clearly you've got stars. You've got Tyler Glass now. You've got Yamamoto. You've got Shohei, Mookie, and Freddie and Will Smith. But can the rest of the team, the role players like Max Muncy and Teoscar and Gavin Lux and Pajes and Bueller and Paxton and the bullpen, can they support these stars?
I feel like the answer is no, but I feel like eventually it's just going to sort of weed itself out in the aggregate where they're going to be good enough. I feel like a couple of them will work and a couple of them are just going to suck. Like,
Gavin Lux.
Yeah, like Gavin Lux, he's been terrible. Pajes started out really hot. Kind of sucks now. I don't know. Wasn't Paxton pretty terrible to start the season? / still potentially pretty terrible now?
2.58 ERA.
Of course.
Yeah.
I swear there was one.
Yeah. I don't know. I think things are not going to be as smooth as you would have expected from a super team like this that added Ohtani and Yamamoto and Teoscar and other guys. But they just have so much depth that it doesn't really matter if the role players don't play because it's like, oh, Gavin Lux sucks. Well, let's just call up Miguel Vargas, who's our top prospect and is batting 294 with 8 home runs and 8 steals at AAA.
Yeah, that's just so obnoxious.
Yeah. We can go to the Marlins, who are somehow the worst team in baseball. That is not what I expected out of them this year. We did both expect them to be bad this year, but worse than the Rockies and the A's and the White Sox is pretty crazy.
That is kind of surprising, but they're also running this just super weird. And I don't really get it because their lineup, I think we both sort of expected to suck. Like, who do they really have to look forward to like hitting? Because now they traded Arias, it's Jazz and Jake Berger now. And like
Jake Berger.
I think they still have Josh Bell.
He sucks though.
We sort of knew that too. Like this is not great. Pretty bad.
No, and then they've got all the injuries to the rotation, and it's like they got Sixto Sanchez making starts for them.
Yeah, they had like one where they gave him one start and he was good in that one start, and then they sent him immediately right back down to AAA. It's like, why are you doing this? They're still giving Tim Anderson every day at bats. Like that guy is ass at this point. There's no reason he needs to be playing baseball. Like, I don't know. Goofy franchise.
I just don't think the organization is really well run at all.
No,
since they got rid of Kim Ng, we've just seen Peter Bendick sort of tear things down in a way that's not been great. So we'll move on to the
Max Meyer. Max Meyer was the one that they had. He was mid in his first start, really good in his second one. They sent him immediately back down to AAA. And now you're still letting Sixto Sanchez and all these other dudes make starts. It's like, why?
Silly.
What's the point?
We can move to the Brewers, and my question here is, how are they doing this? I mean, I look at their team, and I'm very underwhelmed across the board. They're great at bullpen development, so like that's the one area where you can't really say anything, even though they are without Devin Williams and Abner Uribe sucks so bad he got sent down to the minor leagues. But the rotation sucks outside of Freddie Peralta. Everybody is like, this guy's on in rotation: Bryce Wilson, Colin Ray, Joe Ross, and then their lineup. While they have a lot of guys overperforming outside of Yelich, Contreras, and Adames, it's like, oh, we're relying on Jake Bauers to bat fifth, or we're letting Jackson Chourio, who's batting under 200, play every day, and Blake Perkins is our everyday center fielder. I don't know how they're getting away with clear holes in their roster and still being in first place.
I don't know. I really, really hate it because it feels like the Brewers consistently do this, like where. In the past, it's been like, oh, well, their lineup sucks. Their rotation's really good. Their bullpen's really good. Now it's like, it feels like all their all of it sucks, and they've had weird problems, and they're still right here. Where it's like, okay, well, the best pitcher in their bullpen that's not Devin Williams, Trevor McGill, was out for like a month because he fell down. Like weird stuff like that. Rotating dudes that are in the minor leagues right now, like Tyler Black, come in and just tear it up in a walk-off home run. Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, it's so stupid. It feels like they do this all the time. They feel like they have the new Cardinals devil magic. It feels like they're the team that stole it.
Got transferred, yeah.
It did.
We can go to the Twins, and what's been really fun is to see Ryan Jeffers have a lot of success, and I'm wondering if this is the year he finally breaks out. Big power guy, already up to 10 home runs on the year now, when he tied a career high with 14 last year. He's cut down his strikeout rate. He just looks really solid across the board, and it's cool seeing Ryan Jeffers just sort of take over here. And I just feel really dope because my two 15-team leagues, which of course are also two catcher leagues, I killed it in catcher. I got Salvi Perez as my starter and as my first catcher in both leagues. In one, I got Campusano, and in another, I got Ryan Jeffers. So it's like the one position that people stress out about all year long. Like, fuck, I can't even find a second catcher that's even playing. I've got Ben Rortvit on my team. I'm just killing it. I got Salvador Perez and Ryan Jeffers who are having ridiculous years. So that's been fun for me. But have you been witnessing Ryan Jeffers break out?
Yeah, and you know what's not fun for me is that I picked him up in our fantasy league, and I had him for like 3 days, and I was like, this was cool anyway. And then I dropped him because I'm like, I don't need this. And he got picked up literally right before he started going completely off. And now I'm stuck with Yainer Diaz, who's been ass comparatively to Ryan Jeffers. It's like, nice. This was a really solid decision that I made here. But yeah, I bet on the Twins again. I thought they would be pretty solid. I just didn't think it was going to be coming majorly offensively from like Ryan Jeffers and the resurgence of Max Kepler, which is still fun. But
yeah. All right, we can move to the Mets, where I think the most fun thing that early on, and maybe I'm biased because he's on my fantasy team, is Christian Scott having success early on. He had back-to-back starts, and he looked really good. And there are a lot of pitching prospects coming up right now, and he's competing with them. But it feels like Christian Scott might be the next big thing in Queens in terms of starting rotation. It looked really good against the Rays in his debut. Struck out 8 against the Dodgers against the Braves in his second start, and I have a lot of confidence that he's going to be really good, especially if he can nail down that splitter that he's got. But with a four-seamer that's got great vertical approach angle and solid velocity and 2 different looks at a slider, Scott's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I didn't actually know a whole lot about him until he made that start, but I watched some of the highlights from him. Obviously, Pitching Ninja posts everything about it, which pretty cool. I didn't know. I actually need to try to catch his next start that he makes because he looks like an electric factory. It's really fun.
Yeah, he's electric, but I think what's most important about him is his ability to locate, because a lot of times you get pitchers coming up young and they've got really great stuff, but it's like they can't locate it, so it doesn't really matter. I wouldn't say he's like blowing you away with anything, but his ability to just throw everything inside the strike zone, just it pays off so much because it keeps his walk rate down. It allows him to get through games pretty quickly on balls in play, and he's still getting a lot of strikeouts because his stuff is pretty darn nasty.
Yeah, I saw some of the clips that they had from his debut against the Rays where he got like 18 whiffs or something like that. But yeah, he looks really, really good. I saw some people comparing him to Brian Wu, which I don't know if that's super accurate or not, but yeah, he looks really, really nasty.
Yeah. All right. We'll stay in New York and move to the Yankees, where Juan Soto is looking incredible. 313 average, 172 WRC plus, 9 home runs. He's up to 2.3 F4 already. The highest barrel rate of his career. He's got a 60% hard hit rate. What? Yeah. How much money is Juan Soto making this offseason if he continues this up?
Probably all of it. But yeah, I don't know. Like what? I just really hope that I would rather him stay with the Yankees if it is for $8 gazillion instead of him taking deferred money to also go join the Dodgers, which
no, don't even say that.
I would stop watching baseball.
Yeah, it'd be terrible. Because then they get Roki Sasaki too. Like, Sasaki's going there.
I hope not. I really hope
all right.
not. If he gets posted next year, he'll actually have a chance to to sign with teams that are not the Dodgers. But that also means because he won't make
crossed.
as much money. The Dodgers also have as much of a run of him because they can just be like, here's $5 and a Snickers bar. You can play for us.
And he's just like, yay, I get to play with my friends.
Oh my God, I get to play with my best friends.
Yeah. But anyway, Soto looking really good this year. It looks like he really fits in the Bronx. We can move over to the A's, who are also not the worst team in baseball, surprisingly. We talked about their one fun player in Brent Rooker. The rest of the team is just sort of doing its stuff. Do you want to talk about, like, I don't know, Abraham Toro?
Yeah, I roster Abraham Toro in our league because our league is something else. But he is kind of nuts. He's been doing really, really well. I think he's like one of the top 10 players at the position on ESPN Fantasy right now. 1.1 WAR, 135 WRC plus, which is definitely not going to continue because he's just not like that. But they're solid. Like the A's, I think everyone expected him to be a complete tire fire again and be the worst team in baseball by this point, have like 6 wins and just sort of like, all right, season's over, we can move on. They're competitive. They're not a rollover team. We're just going to come in and beat the shit out of you and move on, which I think is good and bodes well because while we talked about it earlier, where I think they probably should trade Mason Miller and sort of accelerate their rebuild a little bit, get more guys. You want your team to be a fighter like this, especially if you are eventually going to move them into stadiums like the shithole in Sacramento or whatever that they're going to have to play in next year, or wherever they build in Las Vegas, because the whole deal there is eventually if they're in Vegas, most of the teams and fans that are going to be there are going to be for the other team. If you have a team that can prove to you and to fans that at least like, hey, they might not be good, but they'll put up a fight. I think that bodes well for fans that are there. So I like that the A's are at least not rolling over, not dying easily. It's good for them organizationally.
Yeah, and I think I said that in the preseason about that I didn't think the A's would be the worst team in baseball, and that's been the case. Going from a team that was the worst team in baseball last year to the team that's the best team in baseball this year, the Phillies looking very solid despite some underperformance offensively. I mean, they've got Alec Boehm, who's been incredible, and then the rest of the team is sort of there. Doing their regular stuff, but the rotation just so good and the bullpen's incredible that it doesn't really matter when you got Zach Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez, Aaron Nola, and Ranger Suarez pitching the way that he is. It doesn't really matter that you got Taijuan Walker and Spencer Turnbull on your team because, I mean, with an offense that has the floor that it currently has and the ceiling that this roster has, the Phillies could keep this up all year, no problem.
Spencer Turnbull was really good for his first couple starts.
Yeah,
too,
I don't know why they took him out.
Yeah, no clue. So he was good and still sort of has been good. It's 3.27 FIP and worth almost 1 F4. They should have left that guy in the rotation.
Yep. We can move to the Pirates, and I just wrote Paul Skeens. He made his debut last week while I was in Colorado, and he wasn't great, but he was fun to watch. He really has some incredible stuff. He struck out 7 guys in 4 innings, but he didn't last longer than those 4 innings, which was the biggest knock against him. And he allowed 3 runs, and it wasn't like the toughest matchup. The Cubs, I know, your team, but still, Paul Skeens is dope, and I'm excited to see what he does for his career. The memes with him versus Steven Strasburg were so good.
Paul Skeens has a 6.75 ERA. He sucks. That's all I'm going to say. That is the funniest baseball game of all time. Did you watch any of it?
I was literally like in the car on the way to the airport the whole time.
That sucks. Yeah, he was completely unhittable until like, who do you think hit a solo home run off of Paul Skeens?
Oh, I used to know. I have no idea.
For the Chicago
Nico
Cubs.
Horner.
Nico Horner, known power hitter, hit a home run off of Paul Skeens. Miles Mastrobuoni went 2 for 2 off of him. He got two runners on and they pulled him. Literally, they put in Kyle Nicholas out of the bullpen. Kyle Nicholas struck out the first batter he faced, walked 4 straight, didn't throw a strike. He didn't throw one singular strike the whole time.
That's good.
Walked in the 2 runs, tied the game up. Excuse me, it was like 6-1. They put in another reliever. He walked in 2 more runs and then gave up an infield single to Mike Tauchman. So they tied the game up. Paul Skeens got hosed so bad
Yeah.
by that terrible Cubs offense. But
Yeah.
he sucks. Miles Mastrobuoni's going to steal Leviton.
That's right.
Yeah, go get him out. Good luck.
All right. We can move over to the Padres, where they've found success this year. They're second place in the NL West, though they're under 500. And that's with the team as currently constructed with basically no injuries. Right now, they've got Joe Musgrove on the IL, but he should return at some point, and the rotation's fine without him at this point. But I'm just concerned if like more injuries hit, because I mean, we've seen other teams just having a ridiculous amount of injuries, and those teams have felt that very strongly. And I don't think the Padres have the depth to withstand any injuries, because it's like if one of their batters go down, it's like it gets bad really fast. Like right now, with nobody injured, everything looks great. They've got a guy that can play every day at every position. You got a good rotation and a solid bullpen, but it's like, one injury hits, another hits, and now you're like down 5 guys, and then suddenly you're like batting Graham Pauley third, and Matthew Batten's your leadoff hitter. Like, I don't know. They don't seem to have depth, and so I'm concerned as the season wears on that the Padres are going to fall off dramatically.
That's also a big concern of mine too, because they really just have no organizational depth anywhere. It's not good.
Yeah.
So I think if that happens, which it's baseball, like it's a pretty strong likelihood. It feels like an extremely heavy, like the amount of games they play, there's a bunch of injuries all the time. It does feel like they're pretty on edge right now. They're already playing guys that I think are playing a little bit better, or playing up a little bit past where they really should be. Like, I think Jackson Merrill's fine, but you're also like their statistical best hitter is Jerkson Profar. I don't know how long that's going to last.
Nice.
Like Jake Cronenworth. I mean, I think I don't know. It's really more touch and go for me.
Yeah. Their stars aren't even performing how they should.
Yeah. It's just a weird one.
Yeah.
Hopefully nobody does get hurt, because I don't want that to happen.
I think they're going to be bad. No, I think they're going to be bad this year. The Giants, though, on the complete other end, what would happen if the injuries hadn't hit here? They're currently having 13 guys on the injured list. They've seen 3 outfielders go down in the last like 3 days. Their whole lineup is on the IL. They're without a lot of members of the rotation as well. And it's really hurting them. They have not really great depth, and the team already had a couple flaws to begin with, but it's not looking good. And their percentage to make the playoffs is plummeting fast.
Yeah, their lineup also looks really, really rough right now after they've lost a couple guys. Not really good. Who all they lose out of their?
They lost
Michael Conforto, Tony Lee, Jorge Soler,
Patrick Bailey, Tom Murphy, Nick Ahmed, Conforto, Lee, Slater, Soler. Yeah, basically just every single person. So now they're forced to like call up guys from the minors who like aren't ready, and yeah, it's not great at the moment. But hey, they brought back Kurt Casale.
They're good.
Sorry, stole him from the Cubs. So that's glad to have him back.
Yeah, and they're only running like a 4-man rotation with Keaton Wen as their 4. At least those guys have been solid. Their lineup's complete garbage, but those guys have been solid.
That's always been the problem. Yeah,
Wilmer Flores being 5th. That's kind of rough, man.
We can go over to Seattle, where this sort of wraps up our trio of outfielders that have underperformed, including Carroll and Acuna. Actually, we've got a quadruplet, but Julio's next. And Julio, he might be washed. 91 WRC plus, just 2 home runs. And it's not like he's been unlucky either. I think he should have more home runs if you compare his 8 barrels to his 2 home runs. But he's got a 365 BABIP, so the 260 batting average isn't like lucky. I don't know. We saw this last year where he started off slow and then turned things around. But do you think this is different, where it's like maybe this might last longer?
No, I don't think so. He started off pretty slow every single time that he's had. I think he even had like a relatively slow start when he was originally called up in 2020.
Yeah. He was getting all those terrible calls, remember?
Yeah, he was. He was not great. He was really sort of struggled to start the season last year. I drafted him first last year with my first pick, and he was ass until like the end of May is what it felt like. So, I mean, maybe it's close. We don't really know. I feel like it'll turn around for him. I don't know. There's no way he's this bad. 2 home runs is kind of insane.
Yeah. All right, we'll go to the Cardinals. I just have RIP, LOL. They are bad. They are
Hold that.
bad. Their reign is over. Yeah.
Hold
Not looking good. I mean, Sonny Gray is really awesome. The bullpen is super dope with Helsley, Romero, and Kittredge. And then it's like everything else sucks. They got Matt Carpenter leading off. Very cool. And yeah, that's about it.
2024.
Yeah, it's not great for the Cardinals, and it does feel like after 25 plus years of devil magic helping them be good all the time, it seems like it's finally run out, and that's back-to-back years where they've looked really bad.
That is a real shame. That is a real
Ooh.
shame. Gotta say.
Yeah.
Gotta say that really sucks. I'm super torn.
It'll happen to the Dodgers someday. I
yeah,
hope so.
yeah, one day.
And then you should be able to touch on this one. Our last outfielder that has really sucked, Randy Arozarena, sucks. Really not a good season for him thus far. The dude is batting 160. But it comes with 8 home runs and 7 steals, which is a good sign. And he's clearly just been really unlucky. 179 BABIP is terrible. His batted ball metrics are worse than they were last year, but they do suggest that he's been unlucky this year. There's something weird going on, but I don't know what it is.
I just think he sucks. I really just think he sucks. I don't know what the problem with him is. He's been. I feel like he's been striking out more. I'm not sure if that's 100% correct, but he's always been sort of.
Yeah, he has.
He's been striking out a little bit more. Career. He was 30%. Getting a little bit unlucky. His BABIP is really like catastrophically low. It's like 179. Yeah. So that will change at some point. But I don't know. He might just sort of be regressing at this point. Last year was good, but he's also sort of been like around about the same. It just might be sort of a down year for him. Maybe. I'm hoping. He's the namesake of my fantasy baseball team, so I need him to not suck, or else I can't keep drafting him. I'll start losing. I don't know. Please stop sucking. I need this.
Yes. Please, Randy, please. The Rangers. Go ahead.
Did you see him post a picture on his Instagram with the porn star guy?
Yes, I did, and so did Jason Adam.
That's so. Jason Adam did too.
Yeah,
that's so funny. That's funny because
when I
an idiot.
Yes,
like,
he is a homophobe. Yes,
or something like that.
It was funny because the tweet I saw with Adam's picture was sir, a second picture has been. A second picture has been posted.
That's so funny. I gotta find the picture. That's
so. We can move to the Rangers.
Zach Little posted one too.
Littell, yeah,
Littell.
Yeah. The Rangers are next, and I just wrote, are they cooked? Because they're the defending World Series champions. They're in a division that seems very weak, and yet they are barely over 500. And they've got some guys that are having concerning seasons. I mean, Wyatt Langford wasn't doing anything. Corey Seager now forgot how to hit. Evan Carter is not great anymore. And then the rotation, we talked about this, John Gray, Andrew Heaney, Jose Urania, Michael Lorenzen. So I don't know. Are the Rangers cooked?
I feel like cooked is the wrong one. It always feels like this happens so often is the World Series hangover. It just happens to every team. Yeah. This one I feel like is born of injuries, but it's always something. Injuries and some minor regression. But yeah, it feels like it happens a lot of the time, and it's just happening to the Rangers. So I don't know. I don't think cooked is the right word, but are they definitely ass right now? Yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah. All right, another team that's ass. The Blue Jays have been terrible. Last place in the in the AL East, 19-23, and it sort of begs the question: who's getting traded at the deadline, because they could have a monster sell-off.
I gotta look, to be honest, because I don't know the contracts for everyone. Who's your number one that you think's getting moved? Like,
I don't know.
Do you think it's going to be from the rotation, or do you think it's going to be like lineup pieces? Or do you think they're just going to sell, if they're genuinely out of it, do you think they're just going to sell everything that's not nailed down?
I don't know. I don't think they sell Vladdy. I think that's somebody that they keep, especially because you're selling low. But like somebody like Bo Bichette, who's only got one more year of control. Someone like George Springer is definitely out the door. The rotation, I don't see why you would hold on to guys that are going to be out of town soon. Oh yeah, Kevin
Yeah, guys.
Gosman looks like he's going to be free agent in after 2026. So I
What's
don't think he's getting traded.
Kikuchi's a
Kikuchi.
free agent in 25, and he's been insane. So
So Kikuchi and Bichette,
they'll move Kikuchi. They'll move.
Romano maybe.
Yeah, they'll probably move Romano. I honestly think it makes sense to move Romano.
Yeah. Justin
Yeah,
Turner, George Springer, they're gone for sure. Yeah, they got a lot of guys they can trade, and if they're going to be in 5th place without any signs of improvement next season, then I don't see why not jumpstart maybe retool.
yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. They could even Chris Bassett's got 2 more years. I think they could probably get something for Chris Bassett too. They could probably just move a
Yeah.
bunch of them, and then they sort of need to because they have guys that they really just could afford to give time at some of these positions that are just kind of languishing in the minors. That you would think that like, why are these guys not already up? Like they have like Elvis Martinez and like Spencer Horwitz. Like both of those guys are like older now prospects. Like Spencer Horwitz is like 26. I also I have a tangible like desire for him to do well because he went to Radford, which is the college I went to. Yeah, the boy for sure. But they've also got like Ricky Tiedemann and like Bowden Francis and like guys that just like throw them in the rotation because you're gonna be asked. Just give them a chance. Like there's really no point because they're not going to compete in that division. It's too strong top to bottom now. They're worse. Like I think they're tangibly worse than the Red Sox. Like at this point, I think the Red Sox are more accelerated than they are. It's just been really disappointing. It's been really, really disappointing how bad the Blue Jays kind of ascendancy was because they never really hit the heights.
Yeah.
Never really.
All right. Let's wrap things up with the Nationals. And I just put, I don't know. Trevor Williams has been good. What's up with him?
Hashtag never Trevor. I don't know.
No home runs is what it is. He hasn't given up a home run all year long.
Who knows with that guy? Why?
This team is going to be bad after the All-Star break.
Pollock hate him so much?
Why does Pollock hate Trevor Williams? Because he burned him in the past.
Oh, really?
Well, because like when he was on the Pirates and he was pitching really good that one year, I think everybody was just like, yo, what's wrong with Trevor Williams? And I think he finally started buying in or was like, hey, this is Vargas rule. Like, go pick him up. And then he betrayed him.
Yeah. Their rotation is kind of fun once everyone's healthy. I got to be honest. They have some guys that are worth watching.
Cade Savali, Josiah Gray, and Mackenzie Gore.
Yeah, if they get one more of those guys to not be asked, because Josiah Gray, I think, is not. If Cade Cavalli actually turns into something, I think that rotation could be fun. Mackenzie Gore is really, really good. I think he's been a fun one to watch. Mitchell Parker was good the first 2 starts he made, and then he's been super mid.
Yeah, I don't know. Nationals team not good.
Patrick Corbin being your ace is.
They got to call up James Wood, brother.
Nah, he sucks. Just leave him in AAA. He only
he's so good.
Did you see the stretch where he hit 6 home runs in 3 days? Man, it just
he's incredible.
He hit 3 one day to the next day and then 1 the last day. It's like, oh, you only hit 1 home run today. Stay in AAA another year, you bum. You bum. you're never making the big league team.
Yeah, they need to bring him up.
They have Joey Gallo and Lane Thomas out, and he's still not on the big league roster.
Yeah, come on.
They have Victor Robles still playing.
That's the state of baseball right now. We went through 30 teams. If you wanted a small update on any team, just go back to the last hour and you can hear about that. But I feel like we are caught up now and we are in prime position to re-enter next week in a normal fashion.
Yep, we're going to get back on a normal schedule so we can actually continue this MLB season, and we will hit 100 episodes this year, and we're not going to hit 100 episodes by September. So we'll make it happen. We will make it happen. We promise. Thank you for sticking with us, and if you've come back to watch us, please go check out all the stuff that we have on social media. So you can check out my Twitter at DVSBird. You can check out Jake's Twitter at Jake Crumpler. You can follow the Athletes Hub at Athletes Hub. That's how you can find our podcast, or you can go to the Facebook page. It's just the Athletes Hub. You can go to the website where they post articles at some point. I don't really know how that's going, to tell you the truth. We'll figure something out. Who knows, boss? Yeah, that's at theathleteshub.org. Go check out. We've been talking all about Pitcher List. Jake, go plug Pitcher List.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we're like an unsanctioned pitcher list podcast,
Yeah,
basically.
go do everything for Pitcher List because it's the best fantasy baseball website that's on the internet.
It's hey, it might be the best baseball website on the internet. But
I
yeah,
think
you can find. Go ahead.
I think it is.
Yeah.
That website's so good.
Um, you can find a lot of my work at Pitcher List. I do 3 podcasts a week over there. I do a Friday bullpen podcast, comes out every Friday, and I do the weekend editions of the daily Pitcher List podcast, which is a very short form podcast that you listen to in the morning that helps you get caught up on all the news and notable performances from the day before. I also write articles every week there too, mostly about relievers, but also about other things. So stay tuned there. And I do a lot of work over at Baseball HQ as well. So check out baseballhq.com and find all of my work at crumplerbaseball.com.
That's all we have for now. Make sure you check back in with us next week around about the same time because we're going to be podcasting again. Peace.